Hi there, and good night. I don't know where you guys are, but if you're a random person who found this video, then I'm sorry that you're gonna have to listen to me talk. But over here, it's 10:12 p.m. I'm about to go to sleep. I'm procrastinating because I should be studying for a really important exam that I have in a week, and instead I'm doing this, but whatever. I had this tiny Prosecco that I will be drinking, and basically I'm trying to do like these videos where I just talk because I feel like I have a lot to say, not like will listen. So if you're like that and you wanna hear me, then you've come to the right place to hear a stranger babble. Anyways, I just took a shower. I washed my hair. So I have no makeup on. Usually when people do their YouTube videos, they're supposed to do their makeup and hair. And as you can see, I have done nothing. So don't let that dissuade you from not watching my video. Anyways, to the point, I just want to talk about the current state of the world and not to get like Will Smith's son, Jaden Smith, all over you, but I think it is important to talk about. Most importantly, about the divide and conquer method of it all. And I can't open this. Okay, I need someone to tell me how to open wine bottles. This is like the worst. How am I supposed to open this? Uh, okay, I have ADHD. Anyways, so getting back on topic, and that's real ADHD, by the way, not the fake one that people get by watching videos and taking BuzzFeed questionnaires. Um, what was I saying? Oh, right, the political status of the world. I feel like in another life, I may have been a politician if I was more eloquent. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I'm actually very well read. I have lived in 4 different countries. And I've traveled a lot. I feel like the best way to learn about history and to learn about politics, geopolitics, is by traveling. You kind of learn that way that anywhere you go, people are people and everyone is like the same. And you learn that politicians will take inspiration from other politicians, but not just the politicians from their country, from the history in their country. They'll take any tactics that work. And I might be bringing this up. I don't want to get into details about like what my personal beliefs in. I just want to talk about history, I guess. There was one politician, I will not name a name, but it was way back in the day, decades ago. And he used a really interesting tactic to get people to get on his side. His tactic was divide and conquer. And you may have heard that before. Julius Caesar did it, divide the population, conquer them that way, give them a common enemy. So this politician that wasn't as long ago as um, Julius Caesar, Julie. um, this politician used the divide and conquer method by speaking and by the public within his country. The interesting thing about him is that I got it off, okay. He was a very, very good speaker. People loved the way he spoke. He was very eloquently spoken, unlike me. um, he seemed to be extremely intelligent, and he could speak in a way that would persuade people. Not a lot of people have that ability. I don't have that ability to have to speak and have people listen. It's a huge superpower, truly. Um, Not everyone, like people can be very intelligent and have a passion and want to change the world for the better, but they're not going to be able to if they don't have that element of making people believe in them, or like getting through to people, saying things in a way that inspires people, or in the case of this certain politician, in a way that sparks hatred in them. People don't notice that. And I think the hardest thing that a person can do is admit that they're wrong. And it's like, oh, I got the cap off. Yeah, okay, now we can start drinking. I think that's like the biggest thing that someone can do. The bravest thing that someone can do is admit when they're wrong and not let their ego get in the way of what's right. And I feel like people would rather die on a hill and sink with their boat than to just change their mind or take a different stance, especially if they were so adamant on one stance. If you really spoke and you really defended one thing in particular and you realize, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have defended this particular thing because I was wrong, just own up to it, own up to it, say, listen, I was wrong, I fell for it, I shouldn't have fallen for it, I know now, and that's that. You know, I think that's a big move. But to die on the hill, to sink with the ship, knowing that it's sinking, it is so stubborn, and it's such an act of cowardice, honestly. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because people are getting on their phone. So after a long day at work or a long day of school, if you're still in school, there'll be the first thing that you want to do when you get home is relax. So what do you do when you want to relax? Like you go on your phone. So do I. Like we're all human. The difference is when I go on my phone, I'm playing games or something like that, and I'll open Instagram. I have a time limit on my Instagram, and I try not to open it. I try just to see it to see what my friends that, again, I lived in 4 different countries, so I don't really get to see my friends a lot because I've moved around so much. So the only way that I can connect with them is through social media. So that's why I need social media. People just say like, "Oh, delete it if you don't like it," and it's like, no, I'm not going to delete my social media, or else I will like talk to people often and I want to know what's going on in my family and friends' lives. So yeah, I have social media. I just keep it limited because although I do like seeing the stories and things they like post so I can stay up to date, uh, it's the reels, it's the doom scrolling. So I'm sure we all know, but a lot of people nowadays, especially young people, are getting their politics and their news from reels on TikTok and on Instagram, maybe even Facebook or YouTube Shorts. And okay, that's fine. Like sometimes the news, like news outlets would post like reels and stuff, but a lot of those times it's not news outlets. And even then, I'm sure we all know that some news outlets are literally sponsored by like certain political campaigns, so they're very biased, you know? Um, but like just seeing some random person just say, "Oh, this happened," and then they don't like give a source, and people just believe it because the way they speak. And this is going back to, I don't want to say his name because then it's just going to spark something. Let's go back to a certain politician whose last name started with an M and ended with an OV, um, that I was talking about before, who used this method of giving a common enemy or dividing and conquering. So that's what people do. Like they'll be like, "Oh, this happened. Um, let's see if people like get on my side because this must be true because I heard it somewhere." But they never checked to see if it was true or not. And I think that sucks because there's definitely some things that are out there about candidates or about politics or about countries or about races or ethnicities that we have opinions about, right? And then they're going to post things either positive or negative that aren't true, and it pushes a sort of, it's just propaganda, you know. And it's getting harder and harder to know what's real and what's not, especially living in the age of AI. And I've always said this. I'm Gen Z, but I wish I wasn't. Living in the age of AI is just like, it's a curse, you know? I wish I wasn't born in this age. It, I can't imagine what the future holds for me or for the generation that will come after me, but it's like, it, it's untrusting. That's all. And speaking of untrusting, what would the future hold with this? We're already seeing people who are falling in love with AI just because of the chatbot, because they're nice and have to appeal to the user, right? And it's like we know that in the future probably a humanoid robot of the AI will exist. And I feel like everyone talks about the like, oh, people are gonna marry AI and they're gonna prefer to have AI husbands and wives. It's like, okay, whatever. But it's the fact that let's think about that. That is something that's gonna be true. I don't think I don't think it's gonna be like a large population of people. Honestly, I feel like that whatever, like it's probably gonna be a small population of people and probably people who would already be like single if they were alive before then. So I don't think it's gonna affect that much. But I want us to think about this. Only a couple of years ago, back in 2013 or something, gay people weren't allowed to donate blood. They weren't allowed to get married until Obama said that they could. Like, that is insane. That is not that long ago. They weren't allowed to donate blood, okay, in the US. And so I think that was like the huge thing, like, oh my God, I can't believe that we're letting gay people exist. You know, like I can't believe we're letting them exist. I can't. And then after the gay movements became like, after it wasn't such a huge problem, the homophobia in the nation, and the next thing came, transphobia. It was like, oh my God, trans is like so awful. Then the next thing came, which is like non-binary people. Like people already couldn't wrap their head around someone changing sexes, but also someone not having a sex. I'm not going to get into that. What I just want to say is those were people being people, and in a way that we have seen in history, like history has shown that happened before. This is totally new. This is totally new. And it makes, like, in retrospect, in comparison, our problems back then that we thought, this is just crazy, we could never accept that. Let's think about it this way. Why shouldn't we accept things that aren't affecting society in a negative way? Right? We don't accept them when it's different to us, and we say that it affects our personal beliefs. And yet when politicians are actually affecting society and the day-to-day of other people, but we don't see it as much on our personal lives, we don't move. And I think that's insane. I think, the American public, you can say whatever you want about America. Like, I've heard a lot of people who have agreed with me thus far on what I've said. They'll be like, yeah, America sucks. Like, America, like, it's just a third world country in a Gucci belt. I don't believe that at all. I think America has always been a country of inspiration, a country that doesn't stand for any BS, I don't curse. So I've actually haven't had a sip to drink yet. Okay. It tastes like cheap Prosecco. Anyways, I think the American public is mostly intelligent, and I think that they try to strive for a better future, for a better country. I think that's very lovely. We have done that for the American Revolution. We've gone against our own government. So I'm not just talking about like, oh, America's the best country because like we win wars against other countries and because we're number one in the whole world for like, I don't know. I mean, I do know, but I don't want to seem like for like economy, and we're number one for commerce, and we're number one for this and that. Blah, blah, blah. And I think, okay, that's great. Like we may have like great education, or we may have like discoveries, number one in aerospace research. I think that's cool. But I think the thing that makes us most American is our willingness to go against our government. I mean, that's the whole thing that founded America 500 years ago, or 600 at this point. The whole thing of like we went against the UK, like England, the English government to be independent, right? That set the ground. I mean, if you actually listen to the lyrics of the Star Spangled Banner, it is so inspiring. People died in that war. It was tough. It was hard. A lot of people in the US, because everyone thinks, oh, everyone wanted to be independent. That is not true. Half of the US wanted to stay under the crown. They wanted to stay part of England. So it wasn't like all the US was like, oh, we need to be independent. And we all agree that we're all going to fight together to be independent. That's not what happened. People had different political stances in that moment. And I still, even though half, or maybe a little less than half, were okay with staying a part of the UK, I think it's great that the people who knew this isn't right and we should have the freedom to be our own country, that they took that into their reins. I think that that's inspiring and that's lovely, and they set the people free, including the people who didn't necessarily agree. Not all the people. But then came the Civil War, and that was another thing again. America went against its own government. Well, I guess Abraham Lincoln was the one who started motion, so it's not like exactly going against its own government, but it was against its own country, against the own beliefs of the country. Half the country didn't want to end slavery, and half the country did, along with other things. It's not all about slavery, but yeah. And with that came another step into progress, into the future. After that, there are other acts. Women get rights. The civil acts movement was very recent, actually, and people got their rights there. The LGBTQ movement as well gave them rights. Now they can donate blood. And it's like, okay, we have the power. We have the power to make a change in our government, and we've done it not so long ago. We've made a huge change not so long ago. One of the biggest changes was the civil acts movement with, back in the 60s. And like that was okay. The US was formed one way. Everyone had accepted this one way of being. Came the Civil Rights Act, total dismantleization of a lot of just like beliefs and systems that were already like that seemed to be set in stone, right? People's minds changed. People who were raised in the South and had certain biases. Their next generation, a lot of them no longer feel that way. Obviously, a lot of them still do, but not as much, right? And it'll keep going like that. The next generation will be also more accepting and will also have a step towards the future. And that is the big thing. We have seen in history that when we work together, like the way that the UK did when they finally stopped like trying to like, commit genocide within each other and just all became the UK instead of a lot of different little countries, they became a powerful entity. That is what will happen with the US. That is what happened with the US. We are coming together, and that makes us stronger. That makes us more united. And we start going against the government because now we're united and we know what's right. Come a new president, a new administration, and he goes back to divide and conquer. All that work, gone. And you know what the craziest part is? Our current president has never lost the election against a man. He has never won. Sorry, did I say lost? He has never won an election running against a man. So why, with someone that we know speaks well, with someone that we know can change the minds of the public, can make people listen, can inspire people, for better or for worse, why does our government want to put candidates against him that will obviously not win because of the information, because of what this man is saying? They're putting a woman and then another woman. The country isn't ready for that. They were barely ready for Obama. They're not going to be ready for a woman, especially when this person has changed the mind of so many people in the public, and they're like, we've gone too far. We've made a huge change. We got to go back to our roots, even though we see that worldwide we've actually done better since our changes. I don't know why everyone wants to make it the 50s again when the 90s was a huge boom, but whatever. So that became a thing, and so they know that people are listening to this man. They know that people want to go back to like 50 style. That half of the country are now believing that again, and then they do that. They put women up there. I have nothing against a woman president. I'm just saying, in the current state of right now, we can't just say because like a third of America is woke and we want a woman president and let's make progress. Let's do something different. Let's like change it up. No more white old men. That's not the truth for all of America. We can't base America off of what one portion, base the president of America off of one portion of the country wants. We need someone and a whole administration that will benefit most of the country. It's not possible to benefit every single person in the country, unfortunately, because everyone has their own like different priorities and things that they want. But it definitely is possible to benefit 90%. And I feel like we keep dividing and conquering and hoping that we can conquer a bigger chunk. Split the country into 3 pieces. Get one to not vote, and get the other 2 to vote for different candidates, and just hope that one is bigger. That is what's going on. I think it's insane. I have noticed. I've noticed what's going on, and I just wonder if anyone else is, or if I'm alone in this, because I haven't heard anyone speak about it. And when I do speak about it, they're like, "Oh, you believe in conspiracy theories?" I'm like, "No, I don't believe in conspiracy theories. This is just a fact. It's history. If you paid attention in history class, you would see that it's repeating itself. That's why it's important to know about history." Oh, but guess what? Guess what? those history classes are now banned, and certain books that talk about a dystopian future with a president who's doing, or like a leader who's doing exactly what this leader is doing, those books are also banned so that you don't get to read them. I mean, not banned from actual libraries, but they're banned from schools. That's not right. This is America. We have the freedom to read anything we want. We have the freedom to speak anything we want to speak. That doesn't mean that we're free of consequences, but it does mean that the government can't take away books from us. What is this, Alexandria? No. Like, it's just not right. And so speaking of this, I I just think I just think we have to believe we have to start believing on what the whole country is. We have to put ourselves aside for a second and think, what is who who is the working class in this country? Who is keeping this country afloat? Who is making this country move? Is it the billionaires? Is it the politicians? Or is it the people that are going out today, like out every day and working a 9 to 5? Because I believe that that is true. The people really look up to billionaires and stuff because they want to be like them. But let's be honest, that's the whole rags to riches tale. That was like back in the day before, like when everyone was just like nobles and peasants. They'll be like, oh yeah, the nobles are appointed by God, and peasants are appointed by, also appointed by God, and we're all supposed to be peasants and nobles until we die. And that's just the way it is. And if you're born a peasant, you will never be a noble, and blah blah blah. And so, what did the peasants say? They said, oh, well, actually, money is the root of all evil. And the more misery you're in, the closer you are to Jesus, because Jesus had a pretty miserable life. And Jesus was someone who had a miserable life, that is true. But that has completed a 180. So it did the complete opposite. People believe this, and then when they dismantled the monarchy and people could work, and if they were born poor, now they can work and not be poor. And this only works for a couple of people, and most of them just stay poor. But they had that fairy tale that, like, oh, it's possible for anyone because it was possible for a couple of people. And I'm not talking about being dirt poor. Being, like, you can definitely, okay, I came from a family who was middle class. My family was, I'm not going to get into it, but they're middle class, okay? I couldn't afford to go to a college out of state, to a good one, even though I was admitted for like a lot of competitions for math and for science, and it seemed like I would have a bright future. I just couldn't afford the Ivies, you know? So I went to an in-state school, a no name, and I wasn't poor enough for student aid, which means that my parents had to pay for that. I had to live with 2 roommates in a place that wasn't very nice because I didn't get any aid either for housing. So, and my parents couldn't afford something better. And I didn't have a car. So I had a tough life, right? Like a tough kind of upbringing. Okay, it wasn't tough. I feel like my life was okay. It was fine. It's okay. But you would think, oh, as someone who came from that, probably like wouldn't get that far. A lot of people who I grew up with, people who went to school with me, they ended up not doing much. Like even though they ended up not being able to graduate from their bachelor's because they couldn't keep up with the money anymore, or because they had to keep working jobs while they were studying, and so they couldn't get the like good enough grades to stay in school, and so they had to drop out, and well, they ended up being secretaries or waitresses or something like that, which is fine. They're happy. But I always wanted like something different for myself. I wanted to be stable. Like my whole thing was like to have stability, to have income. I wanted to feel comfortable. Like I wanted to have this apartment that I have, right? So I did it. I got into corporate America, and I make almost the 6 figures now, even though I just graduated less than a year ago from college. Okay, fine. That's like, okay. So the point I'm trying to make is I'm not dirt poor, but I'm also not rich rich. What do I mean by that? I mean that everyone's talking about like, oh, like this administration doesn't benefit the poor. Like poor people like need Medicare, or like they need certain things that our taxes give. And honestly, like I don't care about poor people because I don't get any benefits. So they just need to like get off their ass. Okay, I don't get any benefits either. I still think that poor people deserve I mean, I don't want to say, I keep saying poor people. I mean, like less fortunate people de- deserve their taxes, deserve like taxes from the American people so that they can have lives that are decent, so that they don't have to live in like infrahuman conditions, right? But I don't think those taxes should come from us. Obviously, we should pay some taxes, but those taxes should come from the billionaires. And I don't know why that's a crazy statement. I don't know why things are so politicized nowadays. It should come from the billionaires. They're not gonna they're not gonna stop being billionaires because now we're taking 40% or like 30%. I'm getting almost 30% cut out of my paycheck. Me, I'm getting almost 30% cut out of my paycheck. And first, okay, people who want to talk about tax breaks, shut up. I took finance. I work for an insurance company. I know about the tax breaks, okay? But they're taking 20 something percent away from my paycheck. And this billionaire is getting tax breaks because he, um, he buried his ex-wife on his golf course and you don't have to pay taxes. That is unfair to the people. And I don't mean just the few people that are getting government support. I mean people like you and me who aren't getting government support and who are getting a huge cut just like away from their paycheck to taxes that doesn't seem to even be in effect when you go to cities like New York or Los Angeles where everyone is like homeless. It's like, "Ah, I pay so much in taxes. Why are these people still like homeless? Like this is so awful. Why is crime up if I pay taxes? Because taxes should also go to people so they can have education and have a better way of life. Oh wait, that's right. It doesn't benefit the country if people have a better way of living. It doesn't benefit the country if people get more education. That's like the whole thing of this new president, right? Guys, not everyone needs an education. Like, university is for woke people. You know why he's saying that, right? He's not saying that because a lot of jobs don't need um, a bachelor's, which is true. A lot of jobs don't need bachelor's. But every job that needs a bachelor's or a higher education will pay well. And every job that doesn't need it, or almost most jobs that don't need it, don't pay well. And so, what happens when they don't pay well? What happens when you're in uncomfortable conditions and you can't afford when you have a medical emergency, or you can't afford when your daughter gets sick, or you can't afford it when a tree falls onto your roof? What will you do if you couldn't have an education to get a better job? You don't have the money, you don't have the means, and your life is getting very hard. You turn to crime, right? People will turn to crime. It's the only other thing they can do because government help, the government's not going to help them because they're employed and they're not that poor. So they turn to crime. And what happens when they turn to crime? They get imprisoned. And what happens when they're imprisoned? They can do slave work, basically. They can like clean the streets and stuff, which I think community service is much better than prison, but they're doing both. They're in prison and then they get released from prison for like an hour or two to do some community service. Okay. I just, I get it that benefits the public. It's like, it makes you think, oh, my life isn't bad because there's people who are living on the streets, so my life isn't bad. Okay? Your life could be better. That's like the whole thing. Revolution will never start if people are comfortable. That's another thing. Like, revolution will never come into play if people are comfortable. Are you comfortable? Are you really, really comfortable? I just, I think that we have been lied to about what commodities or like what comfort is. You might think, oh, I'm comfortable because I have AC and I have a big house, or I'm comfortable because I have food and a roof over my head and I'm alive and I'm healthy. There is more. There's more to life than just surviving or being able to travel or being able or having the illusion of luxury. You know? I feel like I just said a whole lot of nothing right there, but like what I'm trying to say is read history, see what's going on, try to see from an objective standpoint, and let's see what opinion you have. I don't care if it's not mine. And um, like, I think it's just a big thing to admit if maybe what you thought was wrong, or maybe what you thought is right, like to you, to your knowledge. But what I want to say is, don't believe what you see. I haven't right now. I kind of tried to like not say anything that was like saying, oh, you should be this and you should vote for this person and this is wrong and this is right. Nothing is wrong, nothing is right in question of beliefs. What's in here? Because what's in here doesn't affect anything else. You can believe anything you want. But what I mean is the political campaigns that is happening online. That's look up Cambridge Analytica if that will be more uh, eloquent than what I'm trying to explain. Cambridge Analytica is a good example of this, but they use these data points on people. They know what we like, they know what we listen to, they know what we do, they know certain words, trigger words that will incite beliefs in us. And that has formulated the opinion of a lot of people. And I just want you to think, okay, my goodness, what if what I believe has been formulated? What if what I believe is actually not what I truly believe, but what I think I'm supposed to believe? You know? What if I only feel this way because the internet told me to? And if you ever like are looking at a comment section and you feel like really disheartened because like everyone is saying like awful things or like it just seems like people are saying things that they would never say in real life, look at the account. Open the account that's commenting weird things. Usually, barely any followers, no posts. That is a bot account. That is also used by the political campaigns to incite a reaction, to get people to think, to see if something sticks, you know? And that's also not right. But it is legal, I guess. Ethically not right, but illegal. And so think like when I was younger, before I started like watching the news or like listening to reporters' opinions or listening to podcasts and stuff, what were my beliefs? What did I want for this nation? I don't want to hear like what you think about certain people or anything like that. But what do you want for the nation? That's the big thing. How do you want the rest of the world to see us? When you think about history and you think about like how they're going to look at this period of time, what's going to stick? You know? Because staying in the way we are now, I see a depression coming. I see Nixon 2.0. And you know what's funny? Like all of the things, the inspiring things that make people like, yeah, I love what he said. I love what they're saying. All of that is recycled. The whole Make America Great Again is exactly what the president from the 1920s said. Instead of saying Make America Great Again, he would say Return America to its glory, or something like that. I'm gonna have to refresh my mind out a little bit, but you can look it up. Let's look up past president's slogan similar to Make America Great Again or something like that. I don't know. But you'll find that that was literally, like that slogan isn't even original. So that was like the first thing that made people like, whoa, I love that idea. The second thing is like, oh, he's gonna run his country like a business. His business has failed. This is another thing. Okay, every person who didn't vote for Trump, they say, if you voted for Trump, you're an awful person. Like a really awful person. Like, how could you ever vote for someone that awful? And like people don't, and then the people that voted for him are like, what the fuck are you talking about? What the flip are you talking about? And it's like, that's the exact truth. I was talking to someone, my friend, who happened to support Trump, and I don't. Okay, I may not be a fan of the guy, but I don't care who people voted for because of what I'm about to say. I have heard what he said about people. I know his history. I know his renting thing that he did. If you don't want to read about it, The Apprentice is a good movie to watch. But I know every controversial thing he's said and done. I also know that his businesses failed. I know that he's said that he literally said on like live, and it's recorded, that he walked into little girls' pageant changing rooms, and because it was like he owned the room and so no one can say anything. He said that. That's out there. Epstein files are out, and for some reason people believe that the Epstein files are a conspiracy theory. It's not. Just because something is awful and you don't want it to be true doesn't mean it's not true. It's just sometimes the world is awful, and that's okay. There's nothing we can do about it. Okay, the world is sometimes not great. That you can be great, and you can raise your children to be great, and you can't control what's happening outside. But just because the leaders of a country are doing a certain thing or being bad people doesn't mean that you're a bad person. Okay, so there's no reason to defend that if it's indefendable. Yeah, but like, okay, going back to the topic, I've seen that. I know that. I know everything he's done, like the bad things, right? The negative things. And for some reason, I never hear the positive things unless I like actively look for it. When I actively look for the things, because I want to inform myself, why do people vote for him? And I'll actively look for like the speeches that he said that are inspiring. I'll see the promises he's made. I'll see the people that he's running the administration with and what they have said. And I'll see the numbers. The numbers really okay. People talk about the economy a lot. I don't know where they're getting those numbers from because Obama got a terrible economy because of the crash, and then he fixed it and maintained it, and then Trump got a hold of the economy after that, and people were like, "Oh, the economy is better than it's ever been." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, Obama fixed that." Okay, but okay, going back. So I've seen the positive things because I actively look for it. However, sorry. However, the positive things don't come up on my Instagram. They don't come up on my news channels. They don't come up on anything really. I never see them unless I actively look for them. The same is true for the people who voted for Trump. They don't see any of the negative things. My friend and I was talking to her about this, and I'm like, I can't believe that Trump said that he would fuck his daughter. She was like, what? That's probably AI. And I'm like, that's not AI. That was out before AI was a thing back in 2016. That was everywhere. How do you not remember that in his first election campaign? That was like everywhere. It was just so messed up that he said that various times. And then she was like, I didn't know that. It was not just that. They didn't know other things that he has said and done as well. They don't know what the awful things that the administration has done so far. Because all they focus on is the deporting. That's okay. Deporting has happened in a lot of other presidencies before Trump. The only reason that people keep focusing on that is because they know that it's the least bad thing he's done. Because people can say, well, Obama deported more people. Well, yeah, Obama was in office for 8 years, so it makes sense that he deported more people. But think about it this way. Obama deported more people without having to make it such a public deal, without having to be like, oh, yeah, Mexican people are doing this and that. He was quiet about it. And okay, I'm not saying that like I think people should be deported a lot. I'm just like trying to say he was able to keep the country legal without dividing and conquering the people. You understand? So if the president has to deport people in a way that's loud, that's in your face, that is shoving it, like putting videos of people getting deported and hurt and punched and putting it on the White House Instagram page, and that's real. If you haven't seen the White House Instagram page, they post people getting hurt and families getting hurt in front of their children, and they think it's funny, and they like memify it so it doesn't seem as bad. So that's the new thing with the new generation. Let's make everything into a funny meme so that like we know how to talk about it, and so it doesn't seem as serious. It is serious. It is serious. So they're putting it in that way and putting it in the White House so that you focus on that, right? And so that the people who voted for Trump and are probably a little don't they want people to get deported. They want people here to pay taxes. They'll be like, I don't like that. And the people who don't like that and who are like, whoa, that's just messed up, well, creates the divide even bigger. And that way you don't have to focus on anything else. You don't have to know that they put tax breaks on tanning beds and are making people pay taxes for hospital beds in their homes. That's real. That's real, by the way. Look it up. But you're never going to know that because they want you to focus on the other thing. Because that thing is objectively wrong on both sides, and one thing will only be wrong on one side. Do you understand? So my friend wasn't getting like the bad stuff that Trump did. She's only getting the good stuff. And I'm only getting bad stuff. It doesn't work on me. I'm kind of like marketing doesn't work on me, okay? So again, it's probably because I traveled a lot, so it's like that. But yeah. What I'm trying to say is I hope we can come to like a new age where people just like, I don't know, just like start trying to think, is this real? Is like, should I be looking for the perspective of someone else? I think it's important to be around people with different perspectives. Obviously, I don't mean like, oh, hang around a neo-Nazi. That's not what I mean. I mean like, we can learn from each other's perspectives. And I think it's really important to be able to keep an open mind and not be like stubborn. If you notice, like, wait a minute, my friend has a point and I can't defend myself in this moment, instead of getting angry and being like, I want to change the subject, I don't want to talk about this, think, was I wrong? Is my friend right? And someone can talk to me and I'll be like, wait a minute, maybe something about this administration is, I do believe that some things about this administration are good, okay? Again, I'm trying not to get into details on where I lean, but there are some good things about this administration. I'm just saying overall, it's not good for the country. It's just not. We need something that is going to unite the country, that is going to benefit most of the country, not just a small portion of it. We need something that's a president that speaks for the well-being of most of the country as well, not a president who actively seeks to put down the people who didn't vote for him. Not a president who only sends ICE to cities that are of the party that didn't vote for him, right? That's another funny thing. Why are there so many ICE agents in, what is it, Wisconsin, when there are more Mexicans in New Mexico? Or like in Texas? Oh, right. Because Texas is red and Wisconsin is blue. So if you put the ICE agents in the face of the people who voted for you and they see how ugly it is and how bad it is, and like, damn, this, I'm kind of feeling empathy, they might not vote for you. They might not vote for your party next election if that's in their face. But if it's happening somewhere else, then it's okay because it's not affecting them. That's why they're only in the blue states. I mean, hello? But again, this isn't, I don't watch podcasts, okay? I don't like watching news where reporters give their opinion. I don't do that. Everything I said here is like things that I have noticed by history and by objectively like what is going on. Okay, and by cases that is happening in the Supreme Court. I watched the videos of the cases happening in the Supreme Court. I'm not like, I don't have top like facts off the top of my head that could make me like into an amazing politician. But I feel like maybe by speaking, I can help people think a little bit the way a friend would. Anyways, I will be here next time we meet. I'm probably going to be talking about something random like Supernatural because that's my favorite TV show. So, stay tuned if you want to hear me ramble about something new every day. It's not always going to be political, I swear. This is my first time. But I hope you have a good night because I know I will. I'm going to finish my wine at last because I only had 2 sips this whole video. And I'm going to go to sleep. So, good night.